All right. And with that, let's move on to the next topic of the evening, which is full disclaimer for our audience. Our guy, Isaiah, who couldn't join us today, who will normally be moderating this show, he put together the script. Thank you, Isaiah. And the next topic is a question. It is Devin Booker the next Kobe? So that's a no. So I'm going to rephrase this topic to make it not insane. So the next topic is, where does Devin Booker rank in the NBA right now? And how much of an impact has he had on his team? Meaning, is he truly the best player on the Suns? Is he one of the best players in the league? Like, how far will he ascend? So, Sammy, where would you currently rank Devin Booker in the NBA as of right now?
Well, I'll answer the question originally, since Isaiah had it as well. I'll say, he's not the next Kobe, but he definitely has the potential and all the tools and the mindset to be that. Because, he does have that takeover mentality. You remember, I don't know if a lot of people remember this, because this was back in 2002, 2003, whenever Kobe was about Devin Booker's age. And he, Kobe didn't even have that much talent whenever he was he was that age. He was the guy that was sitting 8 minutes a game his rookie year. And then next thing you know, he's airballing three-pointers in Utah. If you guys ever watched that 2K intro in 2K17 or 18, he's airballing threes and, making all these mistakes early in his career. And then next thing you know, the dude's dropping 81 on Toronto. So, I feel like that as far as mentality-wise, he has those keys in the skill set-wise. Because, I don't remember anyone being as dominant scoring at the two recently like Devin Booker. Because I feel like you could say James Harden is, but he doesn't have that mentality to where he says, give me the ball, move to the side, I'll take over this game. Like he had game 1 or 2 of this playoff series, and then he did it in a couple other times in this playoffs. And as far as, where he ranks, he's definitely a top 15 player in the NBA right now. He has the ability to score on anyone at any given day. And, he's a little cold. He's had a couple bad games this game and the game before. But as far as the playoffs in total, he's not only shown that he can play productive on a good team, but he can carry his team to victory and, be the best player on a championship, not playoff contending, a championship contending team. Because right now the Suns look like the best team in the league as of right now.
Oh boy, there's so much to unpack there. Where to begin? Let's start off the original question. I'll entertain it a little more because I personally think it's ludicrous to say he's the next Kobe Bryant, but I'll entertain the thought a little more. I don't think he has any shot to be the next Kobe Bryant, and for one simple reason. You talk about the mentality that Kobe had. Devin Booker has nothing like that. His mentality is nothing like that. And you know how I know this? One simple clip from a couple years back. It was during the NBA offseason, and he was scrimmaging with some NBA players, just having plans to pick up basketball 5-on-5. And he had the ball in the wing, and the defense comes to double team him. He just panics and throws the ball away and turns the ball over. And then after that, he says, no double teams. Why are you not accepting a double team? He's like, let's work on improving our game. And as in that same video, Joakim Noah points out, that's part of the game. Like, he just wanted it super easy. Like, just take the double team, pass it out, work on your game. It's uncomfortable, yes, but you can't just say no double teams. Like, that's never going to happen. As soon as I saw that, I just knew that he does not have the mentality to be an all-time great. Like, that one clip alone was really, it has to be disheartening if you're a Devin Booker fan, because that showed a little bit of mental weakness even. Not too much, but I don't know. That video just rubbed me the wrong way. I did not like that. Kobe Bryant would never have said anything like that. In fact, he would have said, triple team me, and let's see what happens. So that one clip alone answers that question on if he's the next Kobe Bryant. And then to your next point, you said he was a top 15 NBA player. That is categorically not true. In fact, and how do I know he's not a top 15 NBA player? Because, first of all, he's not the best player on his own team. That's Chris Paul. And he's not even the second best player on his own team. I'm here to tell you that DeAndre Ayton is a better basketball player than Devin Booker for one simple reason. He impacts the game more consistently and more often throughout the course of the average game than Devin Booker does. And before you get on me saying I'm just a Devin Booker hater, I have compiled some stats in my research on to just disprove that he's a top 10, top 15 players ton of the national media is liking to say. By the way, speaking of the national media, I heard next Kobe Bryant after game one, and I haven't heard next to nothing about Devin Booker from the national media outside of the fact he's wearing a mask since game one. And that's probably because he has not had much of any good games outside of this past game, of which they lost, but I'll digress. But when compared to Chris Paul, yes, Devin Booker has the edge in points. I don't doubt he's one of the top 15 scorers in the league, but he's not one of the top 15 players because Chris Paul has more rebounds per game, being 6 foot, much more assists, more steals, more blocks, higher player efficiency rating, more win shares per 48 minutes, value over replacement player, which is a very good score. It's like 7 throughout the course of an NBA season. His was, I don't have it in front of me. Let's see.
Well, we all know Chris Paul is the MVP of VORP. He's the VORP getter, as they say. But let's digress here. Let's go back to the original question here again. How old was Devin Booker about 2 years ago? 22 years old? 22, 21 years old? Okay, so we're going to compare Devin Booker, who at that rate already had a 70-point game under his belt, which is unbelievable, actually, seeing how that's third since Kobe dropped 81, and that has been the most points since dropped in a single game. And we're going to judge him by a pickup game versus, that. Ryan, I don't know how long you've been a basketball fan for.
My whole life, almost.
2006, May 6th. Kobe Bryant on the playoffs, Game 7, drops, I think, 20-something points. Let me see here. Pull up the game here. He drops 24 points in a Game 7 loss after they lose a 3-1 lead to the Suns, okay? Ryan, how many shots do you think Kobe Bryant took in the second half? Yeah, just give me a number.
Oh, I remember this game. This was around maybe 1 or 2 shots. It was a very, very low number.
He took 3 shots because people were saying that he doesn't pass the ball. So if you want to talk about Mamba mentality and him passing the ball out, this guy, Kobe Bryant, listened to the media, which is something that not a lot of players, which a lot of players do, I guess, nowadays. But, almost like didn't play his own game and lost his team the playoffs, lost his team the series because of that type of being petty, basically. Because that team, they were in head, I'm pretty sure. It was a pretty close game at the half. And then basically said, screw it, we're going to lose this game. And played as passive as he could. And, the rest is history. But, as far as the Devin Booker being the third best player on his team, now that's not true, Ryan.
It's absolutely true. I'll get to that in a bit.
Okay, so how long was Chris Paul out for in the series?
He was out the first 2 games due to COVID protocols.
What was the series at?
That was it 2-0?
Game 1 and 2?
They did win games 1, 2. They won game 2 despite Devin Booker.
Whatever you just said, don't mean a thing, because guess what? His first game, Devin Booker got a triple-double. He got told that he could pass the ball. He got told he could do this and that. So he's given the keys to the offense, basically, his game 1. Game 2, I don't remember what Devin Booker's stat line was, but I remember Cameron Artis-Payne basically said, who's CP3 who? And they won the game because of him, basically. 37 points, and I don't think he had a turnover. And then game 3, we see Chris Paul, basically, because It's his team. There's DeAndre Ayton and Chris Paul, and then Devin Booker. I think fractures part of his nose or one of his face or part of his face, and then Cameron Payne goes down 4 minutes into Game 3, and the Suns get ran out of the building basically, and don't look competitive. And that's with your two best players, according to you, Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton. And then when we look at Game 4, I think Cameron Payne. I don't know if he's back yet. He doesn't seem like he's back, but he seems like he's the best point guard for the team right now since Chris Paul has not been the same. He's played like Cliff Paul since the injury came back. But you can't really. They're still winning games with Devin Booker in the lineup, and they're still Devin Booker's still saying, "Give me the ball, so I'll score 30-something points with 22 shots." That's something Michael Jordan or Kobe would do. 9 for 22. I mean, that sounds like one of their still inefficient stat lines, honestly. And they lose, I think, Game 5 or was it Game 5 or Game 4 that they lost? Yeah, it was Game 5. They're down 3-2. They're up 3-2. And Devin Booker scored 34 points. You can't do much of that because, Chris Paul got crossed up by PG, playoff P. And, the rest is history for that one. So Game 6, they're going to rely a lot on Devin Booker being that man, the Batman to that team. But hopefully he can come back. Hopefully Cameron Payne can come back and take his starting point guard position because Cliff Paul right now, he isn't looking too hot. As far as DeAndre and the rest of the boys, they need their ball distributor back and Cameron Payne.
Okay, so Game 2, of which they won, because you didn't say because of Booker, but you said Booker played a key role in this Game 2 win.
I said the point guard did. Point guard who scored 30-some points, so 0 turnovers.
Okay, so without Chris Paul, he needed another player, not him, to step up and basically win that game because he was too busy going 5 for 16, 1 for 3 from 3. Thank goodness the rest love him because he went 9 for 9 for the free throw line. If that wasn't the case, he would have had an even worse game. Let's see, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. That's respectable, but 8 turnovers. So they won despite of Devin Booker. They didn't win because of him. They won despite of Devin Booker, and they really won because DeAndre Ayton, the second best player on the Suns, went 2 for 15, had 14 rebounds, and had the game winner, of course, which Jay Crowder, an assist to him because he had the actual assist of the game, a picture-perfect pass. My goodness. Can't have a pass any better than that.
So he went 1 for 15 before that shot? He was 1 for 14 before that shot?
Wait, what did I say?
You said 2 for 15 shooting.
Did I say 2? Oh, no. I meant 12 for 15. My bad. 12 for 15. Aiden had a very good game.
Shots under the basket? I'm glad he's 7 foot and can make a shot that's under the basket.
We're going to discredit him because he's scoring efficiently? He's taken 15 shots. Devin Booker took 16 shots, made 5 of them.
Aiden, I mean, if I was 7 foot tall and I could reach a little over the basket, I think I'd go 12 for 15, personally.
He's going against other guys who are 7 foot tall. What are you talking about?
Player that couldn't do that, actually. Clint Capella had the highest field goal percentage. You guys say he's the best shooter in the league?
He's not shooting 15 shots a game and making 12 of them.
But he's still shooting. He still shot 60-something%.
Yeah, it's easy to shoot 60% when you shoot the ball like 6 times a game. Aiden shooting the ball 15.
Under the basket too. You're 7 foot. You're reaching over the basket.
So we're just going to discredit everyone who scores in the NBA because they're tall. Is that what we're going to do?
Discredit, but if you're going to say 12 for 15, like he's shooting threes and shooting from all over the floor, like it's equivalent to Devin Booker, who is taking threes, who's shooting from mid range, who's shooting fadeaways, who's shooting layups. He isn't taking those alley oops or taking putbacks that count for buckets or count for field goals. I'm sorry.
So you're saying it's better and more impressive for a perimeter player to go let's say 8 for 15 than it is for a post player to go 12 for 15. Where's the logic in that?
It depends on how many to score. You could score 8 for 15 and score 16 points. And I wouldn't say that's too impressive, but you're scoring 30 almost on 8 shots. That'd be crazy. I'd give him his credit.
I say Aiden's being. I say I don't get that. Aiden's being
18? That'd be good.
10 for. No. I said what did I say? I thought I said 9
You said
I
8
thought
to
it was,
15, but I'm saying you're 10 for 8. Let's say he's 10 for 18, just for argument's sake.
so
So
that's
I
more
gave you a
impressive
couple
than a
points.
12 or 15 game from a
Yes,
center.
yes.
That is no, that's missed
From
shots.
a center, yes.
That is missed shots. Why are we discrediting Aiden because he's tall? He has to get in position. He has to box out, get in the paint, get the rebound, and put it up. All these are very difficult things. He's going against other 7-footers. If this was a situation where he's going up against like a bunch of 6'6" guys, yes, then credit shouldn't. I'll say a ton of credit shouldn't be given for being effective. But he's going against very good elite defenders at the highest level of basketball and going 12 for 15. I don't see how you can discredit that because, oh, he's tall.
Yes. He's tall and he's shooting it from under the basket. Should I give him a hand? Should I give him a round of applause that he makes the baskets that he should make?
Okay, Devin Booker's quicker than his defenders.
Okay.
He should make every shot.
He should. Yeah, he should drive. Yeah. If he's quicker and the lane's open, he should drive.
So why isn't he going 12 for 15?
He isn't driving. They're obviously playing. They're obviously shutting down the lane for him. Obviously, and he's shooting fadeaways and he's shooting threes.
Why is he doing that?
Unless you think a 3-point shot is equivalent to an under the basket shot. Do you think that, Ryan?
I don't think that's. But
Do you
if
think a
you
mid-range shot is more? I mean, it's basic stats and analytics here. A long-range two is the hardest two to shoot. It's the hardest spot to shoot in the game. Anywhere you could pick a three, you could pick a half court. I guarantee you, a long-range two is a lower percentage shot than even a almost half-court shot. If you look at the stats and numbers, you break it down to that. And he's shooting the long-range, mid-range twos, the more inefficient games.
why is he doing that?
The way that Kobe and MJ shot. You're gonna say MJ wasn't good because he had some pretty bad shooting nights. He had his horrible shooting nights, actually.
Yes, he did. And I'm not saying that shooting around the basket is more effective than shooting a three. What I am saying is going 12 for 15 on the basket is better than shooting 33% from three or 40% from three.
But you're saying here. Oh no, it's not actually, because if you break it down to numbers, it probably equals out because you only need 4 threes if you're shooting 33% from three. You only need 4 threes to tie that. If you're shooting 10 threes and you're shooting 43%, you're tying what he just.
But if you're shooting 80% from under the basket, it has to be better than shooting like 36 or 37. I don't want to do the math in my head.
How do you think the Warriors won their 4 finals, or went to 4 finals? They did that math. They said we get better 3-point shooters than you. We're gonna outshoot you out of the court. And they also
they didn't. They didn't just outshoot teams. They had
good pick and roll players as well, like Andrew Bogut and Mo Spates, who could play the pick and pop. And they also had David Lee their first year and Draymond Green, who could also do the pick and pop. But they also, what they basically did is they had Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, 2 of the best shooters in the league, and they said outshoot us basically because the Cavaliers were the only team that could bully them. If you remember that, I mean, if it wasn't for Kyrie going out, they probably could have kept pace with them, but they got outshot is what happened. They said, we'll take your threes, you take your twos with Timothy Mozgov and Tristan Thompson.
I'll say the Warriors didn't just outshoot teams. They had multiple superstars. They had 3 superstars. Draymond Green was playing like a superstar at the time. And then they got 4 superstars, 4 of the top 25 players at the time. That's how they won. They didn't win just because they shot. A team that tried to just say, I'm going to outshoot you was the Rockets, and they did not make the finals. In fact, they lost the Warriors because they just didn't have any physicality, and they just shot the ball, and when they weren't making it, they lost games. Game 7, when they missed 27 straight threes, is a prime example of that. So
I'll say like ignorance and on not adjusting to the game plan. There's difference between outshooting teams and straight ignorance. That was straight ignorance.
Well, back to my point. If Devin Booker is not being effective in mid-range, then either take threes or drive, and if they take that away, kick it out and get an assist. In games like 4 and 5, you only had like 1 or 2 assists combined in those games. Why isn't he being a playmaker? Why isn't he being a playmaker? If they're shutting down,
Chris Paul back because they have Chris Paul back. That's his role. If you just read the stats, didn't you? You just read the stats that Chris Paul has more assists than him. I think he only averages like 2 or 3 assists in the game. Whenever he was playing as the point guard, he got a triple-double, his first triple-double ever whenever he got put as the point guard. You remember that?
Yes, that is Chris Paul's game. That is his role. But what I'm saying,
the team, you're right. That's
What
exactly what
I'm
he's doing.
saying is when Devin Booker has the ball, instead of just pulling up from mid range, of which he did not do effectively in games 2 through 4, then why not drive and either get the contact and go to the free throw line or kick it out to an open guy? If he's a good playmaker, which I've heard plenty of people claim he is, you should be able to do that and not have 0 assists. Devin Booker is the type of player that when he's not scoring and he's not shooting really well from the field, he is a net neutral on the floor. He does not contribute anything. Players like Chris Paul, if they're having an off shooting night, they can pass the ball when they take away the lane and only lead the mid ranger. Players like DeAndre Ayton can rebound, play great defense. They can contribute in other ways. Devin Booker cannot. If he's not having a good game like game 1, he's a net neutral on the team. It's as simple as that.
Well, it seems like he was a net plus game 2 because they ended up winning game 2, and with Ayton, with what's his face.
They
and,
won despite of him. He did not have a good game.
We could go on and on though about Devin Booker. You just said that you'd be a really good player if he would have drove to the rim. You're right. If you drove to the rim and took advantage of us, maybe he would be you'd have a lot better numbers at this point. So that's,
and I call him a better player, but he's not doing that. He's not doing that. You can't just say what ifs.
When he becomes more aggressive and when he beefs up, when he gets older, the dude's only 24 years old. The dude's 24 years old, and we're talking about this guy as if he's like taking over the king of the NBA.
We shouldn't be. That's my point. We shouldn't be talking about this. Maybe he'll get to that right now, but right now it's stupidly premature. He's not a top 15 player. Can he be a top 15 player? Sure, but right now he's not. Because if he's a top 15 player, riddle me this. How can he have a box score plus minus of 0 or minus 0.1 on a team that had a box score plus minus of 3.7 through the regular season? How does that happen?
Let me ask you something. Who won game 1 and 2 of the Western Conference Finals, and who's been dominating these playoffs so far? When the ball matters, when basketball matters, Devin Booker's been dominating. He's the reason.
Devin Booker won game 1.
To beat the Lakers.
Devin Booker won game 1. And the Suns won in spite of Devin Booker in game 2. It's as simple as that. And the Suns only beat the Lakers because Anthony Davis went down. You know that.
He did enough to obviously win the game.
Or DeAndre Ayton won the game. Or Cameron Payne won the game. And Devin Booker just kind of had a bad game. And they won despite of him.
Let's pull these stats here. 9 for 9. 5 assists. Dang.
Oh, we're going dang on 5 assists? Like, that's suddenly super impressive.
He probably got DeAndre Ayton all 5 buckets. 5 of his assists are probably DeAndre Ayton assists. And DeAndre Ayton probably ate up on those boards from those putbacks.
Okay, so we're just going to give players credit for that. So
he scored 24 points? Yeah, he scored 24 points on 12 shots made. Yeah, that's those were all the shots under the rim.
Yeah. Because he got good positioning, he scored the basketball. At the end of the day, it comes down to, do you score points and score points effectively for your team? DeAndre Ayton did that. Devin Booker did not. He didn't have a great passing game. He had a good passing game. He didn't have a great passing game. It's as simple as that. DeAndre Ayton contributes to the game in multiple ways. Because, I actually did a little bit of a calculation.
Would you say that Draymond Green's a better player than Allen Iverson?
Absolutely not.
Then why would you say that DeAndre Ayton's a better player than Devin Booker? Because if you want to sit here and say he's more versatile, it just sounds like you're saying he's more versatile. Draymond Green's a lot more versatile than AI was on defense, especially. He's very
AI contributed consistently. If he wasn't scoring effectively, he was out there. He didn't
score effectively. And it was not a liability on defense. The only time he was like a Steph Curry type player on defense.
I'll say, wasn't Allen Iverson a pretty good passer? He led his teams on offense. Like, he was the only offensive player on his team, while the Suns have 2 other very good offensive players. So Allen Iverson kind of had to do good, or else his
But here,
teams wouldn't win. Devin
here's
Booker
the thing,
can
though.
do bad, and
Draymond
his
Green,
team
though, was a
wins.
better player as far as passing the ball and defensively, and could shoot the three better, probably better than AI could. AI was a very good driver and being able to knock down the mid range. He was not that consistent on shooting the threes, if I remember correctly. It's been a long time.
Also, Draymond Green is just a bad scorer. Aiden is a good scorer. He's just not as good as Booker. So it kind of, I'll say, Draymond Green's a little lower because of how bad a scorer he is nowadays. While DeAndre Ayton is a good defender, good rebounder, and is a very good scorer. Like, let me bring up my calculations. So I ran a little equation where points per game was valued twice as much as rebounds and assists and all that, but I took points per games, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, player efficiency rating, win shares per 48 minutes, box score plus minus, of which I was not very highly valued in this equation, VORP, and then turnover percentage. You add all that with points being tied for most important outside of or along with win shares and VORP, which is valued only slightly more than rebounds and points and whatnot. Devin Booker is not better than Chris Paul. Chris Paul dwarfs him in that equation, and so does Ayton, because Ayton has a box score of 1, while Devin Booker has a box score of minus 0.1. He has a higher, I'll say he has a higher VORP than Devin Booker. Turnover less, obviously, but I'm not going to knock him for that. Higher player efficiency rating, much higher rebounds, much higher blocks, which again strengthens my point of the defensive presence. So
hold on.
Okay. I'm not. Yeah. Okay. My point is, I'm not knocking Devin Booker for that, but I'll say he's not,
because you can sit here and say every center is better than Devin Booker. Then if you're gonna say, oh,
that is not okay. You're driving onto a very tiny, minute part of the argument. I literally said I don't blame Devin Booker for not being
he averages
as good a blocker.
Ayton averages 14 points a game. Obviously, shows his value on the offensive is third or fourth priority. Getting his points is not as top as getting Devin Booker's points. Devin Booker is the key to that offense. If he's out for games 1 and 2, I guarantee you the Suns lose games 1 and 2. Games 1 or 2, I should say.
If Devin Booker's not on the court, but Chris Paul is, the Suns win both those games easily.
No,
Easily. Because
what's
Chris
the series
Paul.
right now? What's the right series right now?
With Chris the series Paul is 3-2. The series
1-2 with Chris Paul in. They're losing the series.
2 games on the opposing team's home court. And then
don't matter really, because the Clippers lost the first 3 games that play in the playoffs at their home court.
Maybe the Suns could have put their foot on the throat of the Clippers if Devin Booker played any kind of great basketball from games 2 to games 4.
Or they should look at it like that. Chris Paul in general, because it sounds like he's a liability overall. 1 and 2 versus 2-0. I'd take 2-0.
You're calling Chris Paul a liability. Now that's just
calling Devin Booker the third best player. You know that's blasphemy.
Oh, no, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. When you take
Ayton
basically the point,
the ball better because Ayton can rebound the ball better.
When you take everything into account, Ayton contributes to a game more consistently than Devin Booker. And that's the point. And that was the point of my equation. When you take everything into account, not just stats, but like player efficiency rating, box score, win shares, things like that, Ayton does a lot more of the little things. Those little things add up to where he contributes to winning basketball more effectively than Devin Booker. If Devin Booker is not shooting the ball well, which he has shown to not be able to do that for long stretches of games, and by long stretches, I mean 2 or 3 games at a time, he is not effective. He's a net neutral on the court because DeAndre Ayton's a great defender. Devin Booker is not. Devin Booker's not a liability by any stretch, but he is not a good defender.
What would Ayton's strength be? If he could not play defense, what would his strength be?
If Ayton could not play defense, his strength would be a great offensive defensive rebounder that can score the ball.
That's technically defense. I would say unless rebounding is no longer defense. A lot of people consider that defense. I'm one of those people that would consider rebounding and protecting defense. Because he's basically the defensive center, the prototypical defensive center. And
Okay.
if you took Chris Paul and Ayton and took out Devin Booker, that offense is extremely limited because no longer you have that player that can score from every point of the court like Devin Booker can. Devin Booker can score anywhere on that court on any given night, and he's shown that multiple times. Yes, you have DeAndre Ayton who can play defense. He plays his role. Yes, you have Chris Paul who can pass the ball, can score from every here and there, but he can't do it like Booker can. And obviously it shows because they would not be in the position they're in right now if Booker cannot score like he did. The Lakers are not losing to the Suns if Devin Booker doesn't go off on them. Right now, the Nuggets would not have gotten swept if Devin Booker isn't on the Suns. Those are not opinions, Ryan. And I know you're gonna say something blasphemy. Some blasphemy is gonna come out here, but those are not opinions. Those are straight up facts. That this Suns team is not only over the edge, but is 3 times better with Devin Booker on the court.
And they're 5 times better with Chris Paul on the court and 4 times better with DeAndre Ayton on the court for going that logic. And again, yes, in your argument, Devin Booker is the best player if you just minimize everything besides scoring. If you just minimize every single aspect of basketball besides being able to score the basketball from anywhere on the court, yes, Devin Booker is the best player on the team. But there's so much else to the game of basketball that Devin Booker just does not do well on a consistent basis. Chris Paul's 6 foot, and Chris Paul gets more rebounds than Devin Booker. At 36 years old, when Devin Booker is a 24 athletic kid, how is that possible? He does not do the little things that contribute to winning basketball, and it really shows in the box score plus minus. Yes, if you take box score plus minus over like 6 games, anything can happen in 6 games. Where like teams go on runs, things like that. You can't take box score over a small sample size. But over a large sample size, it's quite telling because Chris Paul has a very good box score of, let's see what his was, 4.7 to Devin Booker's negative 0.1. DeAndre Ayton's 1.
Let me
go ahead.
This conversation right here. What do you think the top 5 lineups are that the Phoenix Suns are running right now? Top 5 lineups.
Oh, the top 5.
Do you think that they all include what player would you think they all include?
I'm not saying Devin Booker isn't in all those best lineups. That's not my point. That's not my
best lineups that they run when the team is at their best, when the Suns are at their best, top 5, they're plus 30. Well, let's see here. They have a lineup that they're plus 34 with Devin Booker on the court. No I don't see what's his face Ayton. I don't see Paul, and then they also have another lineup right here with Devin Booker where they're plus 33 whenever he's on the court, and there's no Devin Booker, there's no Chris Paul, there's no DeAndre Ayton, and their top 5 lineups that they run throughout the game that includes 700 minutes, 196 minutes. They are 5.9 and plus 7.4, but their top 3 scoring lineups that are 9.5, 9.3, 10.2. They all include Devin Booker. All 5 lineups actually include Devin Booker. But
then how's he minus 0.1?
One of the top 5 lineups that it was the 9.3, that was one of the scoring lineups, did not include Chris Paul. So whenever Chris Paul's on the court, that offense runs just as smoothly and dominates just as smoothly whenever he was off. You don't see any lineups where Devin Booker was out and they were thriving.
Chris Paul is a plus score or plus minus of 4.7 for the season. Devin Booker's a negative 0.1. How is that possible? Answer me that.
Right now, I'm looking at this lineup. I'm looking at the net lineups. I'm looking at 5-man combinations, and I'm looking at their worst lineups. They do not include Devin Booker.
How's he have a negative plus minus then?
I don't care about this plus minus whatever. I'm looking at whenever they run the top 5 players, whenever they run the 5 players, who's winning on the court, and whenever Devin Booker is on that court, there's no analytics that prove it. There's no analytics that beat it because they dominate whenever he's on the court, and whenever he's off the court, it's a completely different team.
How does this math add up? Chris Paul has a plus minus of 4.7. Devin Booker has a negative plus minus. Ayton has a plus minus of 0.9. Devin Booker again is minus 0.1. The team as a whole has a plus minus of 3.7. How does this math add up? I say you're probably giving me. I'll say I don't have the stats in front of me, but it sounds like you're giving me lineups they've used sparingly and had good plus minuses with. But as a whole, throughout the whole season, Devin Booker has not had a great impact on the plus minus for his team. While Chris Paul has and DeAndre Ayton has, and the team overall has.
So here's more.
And also,
Offensive rating.
If you look at win shares,
offensive rating, whenever Chris Paul makes an impact, his impact is plus 2.1. All right, you listening?
Yeah.
DeAndre Ayton, what do you think his impact is on offense? What would you guess his offensive rating?
Not too familiar with the statistic, but I'll say it's very positive.
-2. This is how efficient the offense runs. Whenever Devin Booker hops on the court, the difference of the offense is plus 3.1. He has the biggest differential between those big three that you claim that he's not as good as. And then
what's the defense?
The assist percentage of differential is also higher with Devin Booker on the court, even though he's not even the playmaker, which is amazing. And then Chris Paul actually has a lower percentage of total rebound, plus minus, whenever. So the team rebounds 0.3% better whenever Devin Booker's on the floor, and they rebound less, 0.1%, 0.6% whenever Chris Paul's on the floor. So those isolated stats. And they play faster with what's his face and dramatically faster with Devin Booker whenever you compare it to DeAndre Ayton, who's minus 2.2 in pace, and Chris Paul, who's minus 0.5 in pace.
I'll say I'm just looking up some stats real quick because.
So either way you spit it, it's obvious that Devin Booker has an impact. It's clear. I mean, you look at these stats, all you gotta do is take a look at him.
I'll say overall he has an impact, yes, but I'm saying Ayton and Chris Paul have a higher impact.
2,271 minutes is not enough of playing time for you. You might need more playing time, to be honest. He has a higher field goal percentage than these guys do. Efficiency field goal percentage.
Let's say you're looking up lineups that
I'm looking up right now. Phoenix Suns on and off the court impact. So whenever Devin Booker this is truly Devin Booker's impact. The offense is better and the pace is a lot better when Devin Booker is on the floor. And that's
what's the defense?
It doesn't have defensive rating on here, but either way, he's there to be the offensive guy and be the top threat on offense, and he's doing a great job at it. That's why their Suns are where they're at.
Yes, he's their best scorer, and he can push the pace because he's young and athletic. I've never doubted that. What I'm saying is defense and every aspect of the game, take everything into account. That's when Ayton and Chris Paul are better.
So is Luka Doncic the third best player on his team because he can't play defense?
That's not what I'm saying. Also, Luka Doncic does everything on offense. He scores, rebounds.
And then
Luka scores, rebounds, and assists. Booker scores.
Who's top 10 in the league right now, according to you?
Top 10 in the league. I'd think about that, but it definitely includes
Give me a top
particular top 5. Kevin Durant, Giannis. Outside of that, it's a little difficult off the top of my head, but I probably have to say Jokic of the Nuggets. Am I saying that right?
Jokic,
yes, thank you. Jokic of the Nuggets. And then who else? Damian Lillard definitely has to be in contention. Steph Curry also has to be in contention.
Even a top defensive player this year. He's not. If you want to say anything about defense, that dude is not a great defensive player.
No, he's not. But he scores and assists. He scores and assists at an absolute elite level.
But here's the thing, though. You were saying, though, you're going to sit here and say that he's not a great defensive player, and then turn around and say Devin Booker isn't even a top 2 player on his team because he can't play defense. It's a double standard you got going here.
No, I'm taking everything into account. Damian Lillard's not a great defender. Same with Lillard's not a great defender. Same with Booker. But Damian Lillard, when the game plan is centered around him not scoring, when they cut off the lane, as you said, they're doing with Devin Booker, and he's forced to shoot ineffective mid-rangers. What Devin Booker does is he either shoots an effective mid ranger or just waits for open guy to, or he just waits for a kick out lane to where it's not an assist and they have to reset the offense. What Damian Lillard does is he drives and either takes advantage of that or is more aggressive more often, or he's the playmaker and gets the assist or a pass that leads to a score. So it's not a double standard. I'm just taking everything into account. I'm looking at more than just scoring and pace. Like
Okay,
that's what I'm saying.
But I'm also taking into consideration, and I put it up the stats. The team as overall has a higher assist percentage whenever he's on the floor. Whenever Booker's on the floor, correct? Didn't I say that?
So he's a better passer than the backup that comes in for him.
Yes,
I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that. He's better than
the team has a better assist percentage whenever he's on the floor.
I'd hope they wouldn't have a worse one. I really hope they wouldn't have a worse one. That would mean he's absolutely horrid passer.
Out of those three, he has the best one. Out of Ayton and Paul on the floor.
Okay, of course he's gonna have one better than Ayton.
So you say better than Paul, and because whenever they were the difference between on the floor, the team percentage, assist percentage, it goes up whenever Booker's on the floor, higher than it does when Paul's on the floor. And then that could be a situation like
couldn't that also be because Booker gets passes and gets open threes? Couldn't that equally be that?
Or it could
according to that statistic.
How whenever you're a Cavs fan, so you know what I'm talking about here. How LeBron
Obviously.
runs for assists. He doesn't openly admit it, but LeBron and Russell Westbrook, they hunt for assists almost. They wait for that guy to hit the corner and come off the ball screen and hit that, and their guy to hit that jumper. So it's almost like that. We can sit here and say Chris Paul's doing that because Chris Paul is just as smart as LeBron. He knows what he's doing here and getting those assists and suctioning up the offense. The offense almost runs smoother through Booker, though, according to the stats that we're looking at, assist percentage, they go up higher when Booker's on the floor.
I'll say I've watched this offense play. When Booker's not shooting the ball effectively, he'll try to score and either shoot a mid-ranger and miss a lot of the time, or he'll just have to kick it out and the offense has to reset. That's what I'm seeing.
That's that Kobe mindset.
Kobe was a better passer than Devin Booker. I'm just going to say it. He was.
Yeah, he wasn't. It's all right, though.
I think Kobe was all NBA defense. That's where Devin Booker will never even be close to Kobe, no matter how good he gets, and that's something we both hopefully can agree on.
We'll see. He's not as good, nearly as good as Kobe is, but we'll see how he develops in the league. He's also 24 years old. He has a lot of time to develop and be smart and learn. Because I guarantee you, when Kobe was older, he wasn't beating players off the dribble like he used to be, and he was using his mind a lot more than he was, his athleticism. And I think Devin Booker will do that eventually too.
Well, I will say Devin Booker. I'll end this talk by saying one thing: Devin Booker is like Kobe in this aspect. Early in his career, he has a much better player to lead the team while he develops. And in this case, it's Chris Paul, and to a slight extent, DeAndre Ayton. I'll say they're close, but DeAndre is slightly better. That's just my opinion, and we will leave it